All right, it's another film study by the numbers as we've got one more day until Ravens football is back. Ken McCusick, how you doing?
Life's good, Josh. Couldn't be more excited.
It's an exciting game and a great time to be a Ravens fan right now. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a huge win. Real excited about that, and then really looking forward to the game this weekend. All right, Josh, do you have any numbers for us? Or are we diving right in?
I mean, we can go with I can go with the 2.5, which is the spread right now for over at my bookie. So going over to my bookie because it's that time of the year when divisions are decided, champions are crowned, and legends are born. It's time for the NFL playoffs. You've waited and watched all year as your team rose to the top or fell to the bottom, but now it's your turn to win big. And you guys know my bookie. You can bet on the NFL, NBA, college ball, MMA, and soccer, and a whole lot of other things as well. I think they even have some video game bets you can make now as well if it's a day where there are no sports and take care of the prop builders for live in-game bets. That's a lot of fun to jump on. So visit their mobile website today and get your deposit matched halfway up to $1,000 by using the promo code RAVENS when you make your first deposit. Whether you use credit card, bank transfer, Bitcoin, or some other way, they support it all. So head on over there, make it your New Year's resolution to get paid, and bet, win, and get paid at MyBookie.
All right, sounds good. I'll jump right into our numbers now. My first number is 72.22%. That's the percentage of Derrick Henry's rushes last weekend that were into an 8+ defender box. 13 out of 18 of his rushes. Those 13 rushes were only for 24 yards or 1.8 yards per carry. That's the fourth highest rate by any running back in any game this season. So it's just he had a huge challenge ahead of himself going against this run defense, and then he ran right into a heavy box. Against the regular season, he faced 8+ defender boxes only 28% of the time. In week 11, in our matchup earlier this season, only faced it 50% of the time. So a big increase from then. So some questionable play calling by Tennessee to continue to run into the heavy boxes. They actually ran the ball 12 out of 19 first downs.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss in another Derrick Henry stat, and then hopefully we'll talk about this a little bit after. But zero, the number of first downs rushing for Derrick Henry on 18 carries. The Titans' only rushing first down in this game was the Tannehill quarterback sneak to convert 4th and 1. The way the Ravens bottled up Henry, I think, gives them hope against any good rushing team from here on in. Buffalo, going to be another challenge. We'll talk about this a little later in the show, that they're going to need to figure out how to stop 3 and 4 receiver sets as opposed to with a pass-heavy offense. But I think there's an interesting historical perspective on this. And there are two things that happened that were weird in this game. One is there was a pass completed to the quarterback, completed himself for a loss of 10 yards. Believe it or not, that's not the first time in Ravens history that it's happened. Steve McNair also completed a pass to himself for -10 in a game against the Ravens where Rob Burnett did effectively the same thing that Ward did. The second thing is the 2003 Ravens game in Baltimore highlighted Jamal Lewis as a 2,066-yard rusher going against the Titans defense, and they stopped him on to 35 yards on 14 carries. And that really was a game where I felt like they should have given up on the run quicker, much like I kind of felt like the Titans hang with the run too long in this one.
Yeah, it was, that's pretty crazy that history kind of repeats itself there. But, it was a pretty impressive showing by the Ravens defense, just continually stopping him, never allowing him to really break out on one big breakout run or anything. And they just held him the entire game, which was really, really something to watch. All right. My next stat is 9%. That's the loss of expected win probability for Tennessee when Vrabel elected to punt on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The loss. This is calculated based on Ben Baldwin's win probability model, based off of the NFL Faster model. So, just want to give him a shout out for that. But just to set up the picture, it was 4th and 2 on Baltimore's 40. The score was 17-13, Baltimore leading with just over 10 minutes left. The model gave a 61% chance of gaining those 2 yards needed, which I don't think is unreasonable given Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, even though they were against a Baltimore defense that was playing lights out.
Mhm.
So 61%, that's pretty reasonable. The win percentage or win probability would go up to 41% with a conversion and down to 20% if they failed going forward. So weighted based off of that 61%, that gives a weighted average of 33% as the win probability after going for it. Punting resulted in an expected win probability of 24%. That's taken into where you expect the ball to be taken, kicking from the 40. So
So it wasn't exactly where the punt went to, because the punt was also very short, and it ended up at the 15-yard line, which I
right,
didn't think
so it
was a
actually
good.
probably took it worse. So
Yeah.
this is kind of hoping you could pin someone in close, being that close. You would never expect to be at the 15-yard line kicking from your own 40. So you're really hoping to, pin them with a coffin corner or bouncing down to the goal line or something like that. But 33% weighted based on going for it compared to 24%. So that's the 9% difference. It ended up giving the ball to Baltimore, as you said, on the 15, where they went down for almost a 6-minute drive and kicked a field goal to go up 7. It's just pretty crazy. And then there was even another 4th down that he decided to punt, which was a loss of another 3% in win probability. So a total of 12% on those 2 plays just by questionable coaching again.
Right. Vrabel has a lot of good qualities as a coach. Obviously, he did some very clever game management stuff with penalties this year and was very evasive in questions about it that just amused everybody, I think, after the fact. But to me, and if I'm the owner of the Tennessee Titans, and I think he's the direct boss and not a general manager or president of operations or something like that, but whoever is one step ahead of Vrabel, this is a hanging offense. And I'd probably go to him and say, hey, look, you got one of two choices. If you want to stay, we're doing all game management decisions are going above your head to a game management coordinator who is essentially your equal, but has control of these decisions. And if you can't deal with that, then you're out of here, because that's just too significant a cost to toss away that game effectively with game management. I'd be more upset about it if I were a Titans fan, but I'm upset about it as an analytics guy to see that kind of thing going on. And, basically football turning their back on analytics when I thought we were way past that point.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
All right, let's move on. 24 is my number. The number of defensive players active versus the Titans out of 45 non-specialist roster spots. That's an oddball combination for the Ravens. Ravens usually are very balanced in that area, 23 and 22, 22 and 23. You always have 3 specialists who take up 3 spots, but they went with 24 and 21 this time, and they really needed it on defense because they wanted to activate 5 linemen, but they still felt like they wanted to activate 5 corners, 4 safeties, 5 inside linebackers. That's the real questionable, and we'll talk about that in a second. And 5 outside linebackers, because that's where a lot of their talent is in terms of the pass rush and a lot of their ability to scheme. So all of those made sense to me, with the exception of the 5th inside linebacker in this game. And I'm kind of wondering, as we head into this game against the Bills, is this a place where the Ravens will make a positional switch, perhaps finally deactivate Christian Welch, who's been a good special teams player, but those are kind of fungible in terms of who else you can get. Another possibility is Bryant goes out, Moore comes on, and then the Ravens can exchange Welch for Curse more easily and get an additional pass defender on the field. Curse has come into my mind more this week as I keep seeing him in the Stephon Diggs highlight from 3 years ago. He's on the field. He's one of the first guys down there congratulating him in the end zone for the Vikings.
I gotcha. So he's just subconsciously getting in there. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting how they end up playing it out. A lot of just kind of moving pieces that they can trade in to fit those last couple spots, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what defensive alignments they go with the heavy Buffalo wide receiver packages. So I think that's going to drive a lot of the decisions. All right, my next number is 2 numbers, 12.4% and 8.3%. That's the pressure rate for Yannick Ngakoue for when he played with the Ravens versus the Vikings in 2020. So basically, he increased the number of pressures per snap by nearly 50% since he has come to the Ravens versus when he was with the Vikings. A lot of that is likely, or something that kind of goes along with that is his pass rush get off has dropped from 0.91 seconds to 0.73 seconds. The pass rush get off is the average time it takes for the pass rusher to cross the line of scrimmage. So for whatever reason, he is getting across the ball a lot quicker now with the Ravens than with the Vikings, likely leading to his increase in pressure rate. The 0.73 would be tied for fourth quickest in the regular season among edge defenders. So, we've faced a ton of quick hitting quarterbacks in the second half of the season since he joined. So his impact has kind of been hard to see just based on the numbers, but you can definitely see it watching the game, him hurrying those quarterbacks. I think it'll be really interesting to see what sort of impact he has against Josh Allen, whose time to throw is 3.04, which is third longest in the NFL. So that could really give us a chance to get to him.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought, this is a good opportunity for stunts in this game, but Ngakoue should have more time to get home as well. I saw the two differences, the 0.91 and the 0.73, and I wondered, is it getting all the way across the line that is being measured by that statistic, or do you just have to reach your first point across the line to count it? It kind of should be your whole body, I think. And if it is, then it could be that fewer wide nine looks from Ngakoue is actually reducing his time across the line of scrimmage, if that in fact was even true.
Yeah, my guess is it's from Next Gen Stats, which I believe has only 1 point on the player that does the GPS, but I'm not positive about that. I haven't seen anything that sees how their bodies move or anything like that would suggest multiple points. So I believe it's just 1 point versus how it crosses the line. So his alignment could definitely come into play there.
Yeah, that's a real good point, by the way, that it is based only on 1 point, one of those things. They have an exact XY coordinate that's accurate to the hundredth of a yard, hundredth of a foot, whatever it is, but
Too
it's
exact
very,
for sure.
yeah, high level of precision. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is 0.3. That is the number of yards per pass play for Josh Allen last December when the Ravens rushed 5+ in the game against Buffalo. So that's the kind of the general public definition of blitz. You hear me kind of put that down a little bit on this show and on others in terms of 5+ isn't really what blitzing is. It's really more about the scheme and about, are you bringing somebody from a surprising position than it is about, do you bring numbers? But in terms of just numbers, that's the way the public looks at it a lot of times. 8 yards on 27 plays last December. That included 5 sacks, so 8 net yards is what it was. Allen has been a lot better against the blitz this year. Different people are measuring it different ways. One thing I can say is he's been a lot better against the blitz at beating it. I think that I've seen a lot on Twitter from Bills fans, from Bills analysts saying, look how much the Ravens rush numbers. They're going to get killed by Allen because he's going to be able to beat the blitz easily. And I think my response to that is that you will never get an average game plan from Martindale. He'll either decide the blitz is going to work, maybe weather is helping it out, or he'll probe at it. He'll see if he can make progress with the blitz, possibly with the lead, it's more effective. But when he blitzes, it's going to be because it's to his advantage. If it's not to his advantage, he'll stop. And the Ravens may end up blitzing 15% of the time in this game. And Allen has many fewer of these quote unquote golden opportunities that he's exploited so far this year. My personal belief is the 3.04 time to throw is going to create some opportunities for Ravens pass rush scheme of various sorts.
Yep, and like you said, here's some numbers that kind of talk about that blitzing scheme. So 0.23. Amazingly enough, 0.23 is the EPA per dropback for Josh Allen in 2020 when he's faced the blitz, and it's also the loss in EPA per dropback over the last 2 years when the Ravens have blitzed. So positive for Josh Allen and negative for the Ravens. So it's just showing how strong Josh Allen is. Allen's stats are fourth best, and Ravens defense ranks number 1 in that category. So, like you said, there's lots of stats out there showing how well Allen is doing in 2020 versus the blitz, but Ravens are kind of next level when they blitz. So it'll be an interesting matchup to see who wins that out. I think a big part of it is that Ravens aren't blitzing risking the back end. They've got extremely strong defensive backs out there that they aren't afraid to leave on kind of islands. So So I think that plays in big. But I think also what you're talking about with stunts may come into big in the game. So
I'll toss in one more. When you blitz an inside linebacker from the Ravens as your fifth, do you feel like you're losing a lot in coverage by taking him out of there?
no.
I think that honestly may play a part of that.
Yeah, I think containing when they blitz is going to be key. Like blitzing from the outside, not letting them roll out. I think that's going to be key.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So you say some blitzes off the slot might really pay some value there, because that is some exposure there, but you can drop Bowser into that spot and maybe get that covered or rotate a safety down.
Yep.
All right. 24 and 37 are my next two numbers. 24 years, 344 days to be more exact, is the average age of the AFC divisional starting quarterbacks. Unbelievably, Baker Mayfield at 25 years, 277 days is the old man of the AFC quarterback groups. If you look at the NFC, it's a slightly different story. 37 years, 77 days is the average of the NFC starting quarterbacks. We have got some fossilization occurring over there. And I think what I'm getting from this is a lot like 1970s baseball was, that the All-Star game was continuously dominated by the National League for a long time. Then the American League had their turn after that too. But the AFC now is going to have 4 young starting quarterbacks who I think all have their job and are secure. And you could say what you want about Baker Mayfield. Other teams will say what they want about Lamar Jackson. But they're going to add 2 more this year, with the Jags and Jets having the top 2 picks, that probably are going to be near the top end. And it'll be hard for both of these teams to miss, I think, at this point with the table set the way it is. And the AFC now looks like it's going to be a hell of a competitive conference for the next 5 or 6 years at a minimum.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty crazy, the difference between those two. And even younger when you think about experience, because Baker is a lot older than his experience is in the NFL. So pretty wild to see the disparity between those two. So, all right, let's jump into my my last number. It's again 2 numbers: 7.13 and 6.26. 7.13 is the yards per rush outside by the Baltimore offense, and 6.26 is the yards per rush outside for the Buffalo defense. So outside is outside the ends or outside the edges. So the Ravens are the highest by far, and running outside accounts for 34% of the runs. Buffalo's defense is the 4th worst in the NFL. The NFL average is just under 5.4. So Baltimore offense way above the average. Buffalo defense allowing way above the average. So I expect big things from the Ravens rushing game on the outside edges.
Yeah, and now they'll have a game plan that adjusts for that, of course. But if all other things being equal, you would actually expect under these circumstances that the Ravens would be able to rush for over 7.13 yards per rush. And we've had this come up with other statistics this year, because Buffalo is below average in defending such runs, even though they're better than the 7.13 yards the Ravens have run for.
Yep.
All right. Last number is 3. That's the number of conference championship appearances in John Harbaugh's first 12 seasons. Already a remarkable number in a lot of ways, but it's double the expectation for a 12-year period. So let's do a little math here. 12 years, 4 conference appearances per year. You know, there's 2 teams playing in each conference. Obviously, that's 48. Divide by 32 teams, you get 1.5. So that's 1.5 would be the average number of conference appearances you'd make in a 12-year period for any team. But they've actually made 3, which is double that normal expectation. So a 4th in line for Saturday night. There's only 3 teams in the last 12 years. The Patriots with 8, and then the Packers and 49ers with 4. Steelers also have 3 who have had as many or more appearances as the Ravens have. We need to appreciate, in my opinion, the consistency and the rarity of great franchises. They're extraordinarily difficult to come by as fans. You know, we've had the Orioles now for a lot of years who haven't won it since '83, and we've had difficulty. If you're a Caps fan, you were long suffering before 2018. You got a consistent winner in Baltimore, and I hope that people not only appreciate Harbaugh as a coach, and they're measuring it in his era, but also all of the other people that go along that with the Ravers organization, from ownership and Ozzie and DeCosta on down.
Yeah, it's been a great team to kind of watch over the years. Just a real fun organization, and that's a pretty impressive record. With Lamar Jackson and hoping to extend the contract, I'm hoping that record continues. So,
Me too. All right, Dan, always a pleasure to do the show with you, and we'll talk to
absolutely.
you next time on Film Study.